Oh boy, we're getting started. We're going live.
Hi.
So, Mr. Bianco, come on over, man. So, we've got a question today that came in courtesy of Hannah. Hannah, thanks for joining. Thanks for sending over the question. Hannah's question was, my biggest challenge is money and the knowledge to start. It's built into my mind that I need at least $50,000 or something to get started. Okay, what do you think about that question, Bianco? Yeah, it's a good question. So, Hannah, a lot of people come to us and they're like, well, gosh, to get started in real estate investing, like I have to have enough money to buy a house. And I'm going to break a couple of myths and some misconceptions around that. So, in order to buy a real estate deal, if you want to actually close on it and keep it long term, yes, you do have to bring some money to the table. There's different ways to get that money, private money and lenders and all that stuff. But let's just say you don't want to go through that hassle and you just want to figure out how to get into this business and make money without having a bunch of money. Okay. The first thing that you need in this business, there's three things. Okay. It's leads. You got to have leads coming into you. The second thing is you got to know how to make calls to those leads. And the third thing is you got to know how to make offers. Okay. To get leads coming into you, that's all about marketing. That's getting sellers who need your help to come to you. So does it cost $50,000 to get leads? Absolutely not. You don't have to have $50,000 to do any of this stuff. Maybe a few $1,000s up to maybe $10,000, depending on what kind of marketing you're going after. I wouldn't even go after $10,000 worth of marketing stuff. With social media marketing, you can do this stuff for less. Ads cost a lot less than that. You do need some technical help with the campaign build-outs and things like that, but you don't have to have $50,000. You can get folks to help you with the financing of building out campaigns for much, much less than that kind of stuff. Now, it brings up an interesting point for me. It's this. When I started my very first business, my first business was a painting business. Did you know that, the uncle? I was painting houses to pay for school essentially and pay for a living. And I knew in order to get like bigger houses, I needed to move bigger ladders and I needed a truck for that. And in order to get a truck, I had to pay for it, but I didn't have all the cash to pay for it. My dad happened to be selling a truck. And I went to my dad and said, hey, Dad, will you sell me your truck? It was this 1977 Chevrolet pickup truck. And he said, well, I want this number. It's $3,000, which was more than market value. And I'm like, that's too much. And no one else has offered you that much. And he said, well, it doesn't matter. That's my price. And I figured out that if I got that truck, I would be able to get some of these bigger paint jobs, which would pay me more money and would easily afford to pay for the truck. So essentially the truck was the key to me making more money. So I went back, I ran some numbers, I came back to my dad and said, Dad, okay, I'll pay you $3,000 for the truck. He said, oh, okay, great, fantastic. And I said, but I don't have the $3,000 today. I can pay you a little bit now, a little bit later, and a little bit once I get some of these big jobs. And my dad signed off on that. And that was my first so-called seller finance deal. Okay, it was with a truck for a paint job. Now imagine, what if you came across a seller that was in the same position? A seller that maybe they, for whatever reason, they're getting transferred for work, or a seller that they're in a spot where they don't need the cash today. They'd rather just have monthly reliable income coming to them, like a seller that my wife and I just got to help structure a deal on. Those kinds of sellers don't need you to have some big cash injection. You can take over their properties either subject to their existing financing, or if they don't have financing, which is actually a lot of houses in America, then you just make monthly payments to them instead. It's kind of like they're receiving a royalty or rent every single month until you pay off the property. They can make the interest instead of some bank making the interest. So you see, Miss Hannah, and anyone else who's watching this later, you don't have to have $50,000. You don't even have to have $10,000. You do need some money though. You got to generate leads. If you're trying to do this business without paying for some kind of marketing, it's a really long and hard road. I've ran it, I've walked it, whatever you want to say, and it took me so much longer, and I wish I wouldn't have done it that way. If I could have done it, if I could redo the whole thing, I would definitely pay for marketing so that sellers come to me. That's what I do today. Like, I'm living what I'm preaching every single day. I'm spending a lot of money on ads because I know that I can get sellers that will come to me and ask for my help. Bianco, does that all make sense?
Yes.
Anything else that you tell Hannah? Okay, Hannah, well, there's one more thing. whenever you're starting something new, like it's so comfortable to stick with the old or what we're used to. And I want to switch you back to this this part of the good book in Isaiah chapter 43:18. And basically what's happening is, like, for the first 600 or 700 years BC, 600 to 700 BC, the Israelites found themselves constantly going back. Whenever circumstances got tough, they would go back and say, well, I want it to be like it used to be. Like, even when they got freed from slavery, some of them were in the desert saying, well, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I want to go back to slavery. And what Isaiah 43 says to us is that, I'm going to read it word for word. It says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Do not dwell on the past. Forget the former things. So for you, if it's a simple mind shift that you're looking for on this, don't let yourself get stuck on the past thinking. Like, you thought that it took $50,000 to do this business. It doesn't. Not to get into this business where you can put a house under contract and then assign it to somebody else, or this house business where you can take over someone else's existing house without having to come out with money out of pocket. Think about the new stuff. Don't think about the old. And then you can jump into this business. Okay? Awesome, Hannah. If that message serves you, please leave us some comments. Share it with somebody else that you think it might serve as well. And then anyone else who wants to get their questions answered, go ahead and submit them. You can either drop them as comments below this, or you can always send them as an email to us over to nate@socialmediablueprint.com. All right, anything else for today, Mr. Bianco?
No.
Okay.
I want to go see how mine.
Going to check on our ice cream. We're making homemade ice cream now. We don't do the whole sugar thing in our house right now. We're trying to live nice and healthy. So it's made out of frozen bananas and fruit and mango and everything else. So deliciousness is on the way. Okay, God bless. Talk to you guys later.